Okay, so fine. Let's start with today's topic. Uh, Today we'll cover a couple of topics. First is definitely earnings. Okay, and so let's start with earning. Okay, let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, Vaibhav, we can see your screen.
Okay, great.
The
Okay,
tenant,
so
right?
yes, tenant only, tenant only. So let
Yeah.
us, let us start with reviewing one existing earning. Okay, so the whole objective is to understand that particular earning, what are the sections there. Okay, and this exercise you'll have to do more also even after the class, and understand each sections and create some of our own earnings. During next few days, we'll create some of our own earnings, deductions, like our own setup we'll create. Okay. So let me just pull out one earning. Okay, so this is a delivered earnings in the GMS tenant. Okay, and if we see here, there is a lot of information. The first one is like country. I'll just quickly go through it. Country is like you can add more countries here. You added United States. Let me just, we can add it as Canada also. So we can just, when we um, create our earning, we can add for US as well as Canada both. So we'll use the same earning for both US as well as Canada. Okay. Then coming down, criteria. So in the criteria, we'll have to specify effective date. Okay. First is the effective date. So uh, what is the concept of effective date? Anybody?
So effective date is nothing but from that date onwards, it becomes effective. If you use this particular earning for the previous, like for example, if you want to use this earning for some employee who is hired before this effective date, then it would be an error. That earning cannot be added to that employee. Is that right?
Correct, correct. That is true. So that is one thing. And second thing is like effective date is always used to maintain the worker history and to maintain the transactions in a chronological order, right? When I say chronological order is like from the start time the employee is hired till the date employee is terminated. So the effective date will keep on increasing, and every like during the hire, after hire, he could go through department change, then location change, maybe a promotion, maybe a merit. So all these keep on getting recorded with the effective date, which is higher than the previous effective date or equal to that. Okay, so it is used to maintain the records in chronological order. Okay, so fine. Then criteria. Criteria is something like we are like trying to tag this particular earning code to a particular run category. Run category we already created, which selects the set of employees to be processed for a particular pay period. Okay, pay periods rather. And what is a run category? So run category exactly you'll map to the earning code here. Okay. Then coming to the worker eligibility. Okay, so worker eligibility is an important concept whereby if you see on the screen, we are trying to determine here which are the workers who will be eligible for getting this earning. Okay, so for example, if you see there are two rows, right? One is for compensation element value exist and not equal to 0. Then there is second row also. I mean, the first two. So the way it will work is, it is a condition. First row, if you see two eligibilities, right? This one, okay, and this one. So this one form a and condition. Okay, means this condition is satisfied and this condition is satisfied. Then assign, make this worker eligible for any employee. This condition is satisfied. Then this earning can be used for that particular worker. Or, so second is or. So if you write in the second line, this is or. The pay input exists for the pay component. If either of these two happens, then definitely this particular earning has to be assigned to the worker, and during the payroll, the earning has to be processed for the worker. Now, quickly, what are these conditions? Let's go through these conditions. Worker eligibility. Compensation element value exists and greater than, not equal to 0. So let's open this. So if we read the comment, return true if the compensation element associated with the earning exists for worker for the time period being processed, and value is not equal to 0. So anybody, in the previous class, we did the compensation element also. We just touched upon the compensation element. So can somebody tell me what is compensation element?
Compensation element is nothing but a connection between the HR and the payroll. And when we create this plans in HR, we connect with the compensation element. And when we create an earning in the payroll, we give the same compensation element. Basically, it is the link between HR and the payroll. And we need to add that compensation element by using maintain compensation elements task. That's how we do that. And in the earning also, if you go down, we have that option.
Right, exactly, correct. So now if we go through the descriptions of, so there are in the worker eligibility also, there are delivered worker eligibility. Okay, and if you want, you can copy and you can create your own as well, which you will do in the exercises. So first is this particular condition of the eligibility. Is this clear to everybody? What is this compensation element value exists? So for example, this is a car allowance. Okay, so this car allowance will also have a parallel allowance plan on the compensation side, and it will also be connected to an element. Okay, and that element, if it has got a value means, let's say I'm doing a hire of an employee and I assign car allowance to employee 1. There is a value for employee 1. I assign that value during hire. For the employee 2, I will not assign car allowance. So this particular earning is, the employee 1 is eligible for the car allowance. Okay. So here what we are doing is, if the compensation element value exists and not equal to 0. So for the employee 1, I have assigned the value for the car allowance, so that employee is eligible. Okay. So second one is pay component not previously paid in the period. So it is also self-explanatory. If we see here, returns true if either result covers entire payroll period, or the pay component is set to prorate, or if it is partial pay period and the current. Okay, don't go with this. So simple thing is, it's like pay component, as I said, right? It's nothing but your earning. So this car allowance also is a earning. Okay, and we are trying to determine that this component, okay, is not previously paid. It should not be paid in the previous period, and that is the reason we are adding it. So this condition together, when you bind together, that is the first eligibility set. So that is condition number 1. Condition number 2 is payroll input exists for the pay component. So for example, I took the scenario whereby I didn't assign the car allowance for employee 2. Now what happens is, you have not assigned the car allowance for the employee 2, but let's say later stage, uh, during the payroll, there is a car allowance which is found for the employee and which needs to be processed during the payroll. So that time you will add the uh, car allowance via the payroll input. Remember, we have the payroll input. Let me just show you the payroll input also. Let me. Okay, so here we have only view payroll input. Let me just see if we can add a payroll input also. So basically what we are trying to do is for any, let's say, employee, I'm just trying to show you that page. Yeah, so here we have, see here, just it's just a recap. Quickly, will not elaborate on that, but I want to show you. So here we did the transaction, if you remember, right? Add error payroll input by worker. So okay, so here okay, we have to see uh, this employee is eligible for this one. Even I created one. So car allowance. So what we are saying here is going back to our worker eligibility. Uh, the employee, either of the first condition, first combination of first two condition, or the second condition, or. So first line and second line will have or. But if you enter every condition here, let's say if I enter one more condition here, then it will be third line. Okay, so that will be and. And means all the three conditions. Let's say if I add something like third shift. Okay. So if I add like this, if you see here, if I add like this, all three conditions need to be satisfied together. But if I put it in the second row, either of first or either of the second condition should be satisfied. So that is the way Workday works. Okay. So in the second case, what we are saying is, even if let's say the employee's car allowance is not processed or is not assigned in the first row, the only thing is, if it comes to the payroll input, it has to be processed. Clear? So that is about the worker eligibility. You can try also adding one more worker eligibility, since we mentioned about hourly and salaried. Okay. I would say that try to find out one condition whereby you can uh, select only hourly employee based on the field pay rate type. While you're doing the exercise, I would say that make one earning only eligible for the hourly employees. So how you will do that? You will have to find out a condition, worker eligibility condition, which is based on hourly, pay rate type hourly. Okay, so just give an attempt to that while you're creating your own earning. Then the second part is scheduling. Scheduling, okay, so scheduling also is a very important concept. If you see here, uh, what you determine, okay, first thing is like, see, not all the fields are mandatory here. That is something we have to be very clear. Earnings, when you set up the earnings, there are like definite fields which have got significance, but we don't not need to necessarily fill all the fields. But scheduling, yes, scheduling here in this concept, if you see first period of the month based on the payment date. So typically, if you talk about a semi-monthly payroll, how many pay periods are there for a semi-monthly payroll in a month?
2.
Correct. So you have two. Now, what we are telling to the system is, you only pay this earning if you see the first scheduling rule. Okay. So what we are saying to the system is, you only pay to the employee in the first payroll, first pay period of the month. So that means the car allowance will be processed for the employee in the first pay period of every month and not the second one. Okay, second or third, whatever. For even bi-weekly also, it is the same. So that is one rule we have put. Now, or condition, again, as I said, right, first line is there and then second line is or condition, or the payroll input exists for the pay component. So if the employee still has some car allowance for the second pay period coming through the payroll input. Payroll input is nothing but used by the payroll business team to manually input the payroll data, sometimes do the adjustments and everything. Okay, so if you are getting the inputs from the payroll input side, then process this. Else, you have to follow the schedule whereby the employee car allowance will be processed every first period of the month. So I would also tell you that you create one schedule here. Try to create. I would not this thing. Basically, you have to instead of the first period of month, you try to use the last period of the month. So you create another schedule, okay, whereby you are also trying to create last period of the month and use it in the earnings. Then next one is the calculation. Calculation, you can use, there are various values for the calculation you can have. Okay, so coming just to tell you here, okay, you have to first, in this case, if you see the top, right, so what are the values? This will cover actually value comparison calculation and logic calculation. So these are different kind of calculations, okay. So let me just help you with this. One second. So you have all instance comparison calculation. Okay, so we have so there will be separate class on this. What are this instance set comparison calculation? All so these are like the calculation values. So if we just try to search for this payroll input payroll. Try anyone. I mean, so this is the area where you can just try to see whatever. One is the all the instance set comparison calculation. So here you have to see where exactly what exactly is the. So for example, here, what is being used? Value comparison calculation. So I'll just try to see if we have something like all value report, all value comparison. Yeah, so we have all value comparison calculation. Okay, so let me just see here. Compensation element exists. I'm just trying to see here. Okay, so which was the one which we are using there? This one, right?
So these are nothing but the eligibility rules, right, Weber?
Yes, yes,
In
these are
this
nothing.
report,
Exactly.
all the delivered,
Yes, go ahead, please. Yeah.
all the delivered eligibility rules.
Yes, yes, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
Exactly. So these are eligibility rules. This is only the entire set of reports. You can, first thing is you have to go here and see what kind of a uh, component or element is being used. So for example, if you see here, this is a logic calculation and this one is a uh, value comparison calculation, right? And I'll cover all these things. What are these different kind of elements which you use in the worker eligibility? Instance value calculation. For example, this instance value calculation, if you see here, all.
This concept is not there in HCM, right, Viber? Like these kind of different kinds of eligibility rules,
No,
categories.
yeah, yeah. So see the conditions still, if you see the compensation side, right? On the compensation also, you put the conditions.
Right.
Right. So if you open it up, let's say if we just open any one, okay, we'll just try to explore what exactly is it. So it's basically the conditions, you can say. I mean, under the different buckets, ultimately what is happening is we have the conditions. So I just opened the first one. So logic, payroll component not previously paid in the period. Okay. So these are the various conditions. You have to explore basically what exactly it is saying. So I don't want to discard now. So I would suggest that you review some of them today. As I said, you have to go to instance value calculation, for example. Okay. So all instance value calculation, let's say. So basically, payroll input exists for the component, for the component sub period.
So Vaibhav, this knowledge
See, if
should
you
be
see, there are a
clear.
lot of options. Yeah, yeah. So if you see, there are a lot of options here, and everything makes a sense, business sense. So, for example, one-time payment input exists for an earning for run category. One-time payroll input exists for the run category. So, what is that one-time payment? It is just an ad hoc kind of payment, which is only, for example, special allowance, which has or a retention bonus. It is only for, let's say, one time, okay, which is paid in one of the payroll. So this all makes some business sense. I would request you to go through this once and try to find out, for example, this one. Explore this more in the system. Try to explore and try to build an understanding on this. And we will also have a separate session on what exactly are the conditions. And to answer your question, it's nothing but the conditions. This is the way you set the conditions on the calculation, right? The compensation. In the compensation module, you would have done the setting of the conditions, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we
it's a similar one, but yes, as you go into payroll and absences, right, the conditions become more complex also, because there will be a lot of logics. The business logics will be there based on which you have to put the condition. But for our understanding, we'll put the very simple condition. For example, I gave you an exercise like for worker eligibility. Now we want to uh, associate this earning, let's say a particular earn, for example, on-call hourly. On-call hourly is an earning, okay? And now we want to give this earning, of course, only to the employees who are hourly employees, not the salary employees. So you have to uh, have one condition whereby you have to use the pay rate type of hourly, and that pay rate type will determine that it is assigned only to employees with the hourly employees. Okay. So we'll discuss in more detail.
so Vaibhav, in real time, do we create more number of these kind of eligibility rules, or do we mostly use workday delivered?
No, it'll be less only. It'll be very less in the real time, because Workday only recommends that you use the delivered worker eligibility and delivered scheduling. And if you see here, they have made it very self-explanatory also for what purpose that you can use it. Only if there is a kind of a variation, right? Then only you have to use uh, the custom one, or not the custom one, your own set of conditions or the eligibilities or uh, the
Scheduling.
yes. So only required, but in real time you definitely need those. It is not that you don't need those. uh, Many a times I would say that okay, you can take 75% from the delivered one, or 80% you can take the delivered one, but 20% definitely based on specific payroll processing or conditions um, for a particular region, it will be required. So there could be some condition that you have to process some specific earning for a Yukon province in Canada. So what do? You will have to make very specific condition for that. So like that, in real time, it will be, you can say, more than 80% is uh, delivered only. But yes, definitely some areas you'll have to create your own rules. Okay,
Yeah, I
so
just saw like in one of the categories you showed just as you showed us it has like 11, 28 or some number of eligibility rules over there. It is very difficult to find exact the one what we are looking for, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
is it come with experience? Does it come with experience?
No,
Same.
first thing is a GMS tenant, right? So you will have lot
Oh,
of lot of
that's what my question was. In the real time, do we have that many options to choose from?
no, no, no. It will be there's a GMS tenant and everybody is practicing on this. So you will
Okay.
find a lot of. In fact, you will like kind of when you create the rules also, sometimes it will conflict also. For example, you try to create one payroll automatic rule, payroll assignment, pay group assignment automatic rule, and that you test the rule, it will pass. But it may conflict with some other pay group rule somebody has created. So then you'll have to open the report and check where exactly that rule is conflicting with which other pay group auto assignment rule. So like that, because it is GMS tenant only, right?
So when that kind of conflict happens, we cannot create the rule, or we need to change the rule, or do we have to use the pre-existing rule, something like that?
Yes, yes. So when that kind of conflict happens, one thing is you can change the rule. You can use a different set of fields for your rule, right? And that is one main thing. And the way, for example, payroll assignment is not happening, you will come to know is like in the proposed pay group, it is not defaulting. So when it is not defaulting in the proposed pay group field, it is not defaulting. That means,
Yeah,
yeah.
many
So
number of options are available.
yes, yes. So that's it. If you attended the HCM sessions, you would have known that if you default one value, it comes. If you set more than one values, then that particular field doesn't default,
Right.
right? So here also it's the same concept. If the rule is getting satisfied by more than one pay group, then system is confused like which the pay group to default. So it will keep it blank like that. So, guys, try to explore these two, worker eligibility and scheduling. And as I showed you the reports, right? These reports will contain everything. You just have to look into what exactly is the element from here, instance value calculation. Then here, what is it? Instance value calculation again we are using. Then here, what is it? Value comparison calculation. So these all you will find in the report. All instance or all value, you all find it in the report. Okay. Just run the report, reach out to that particular element and see what is the logic there. Okay. Review the logic. So that is the first thing you should do. Uh, then based on that, you also try to find out a couple of things. As I said, for worker eligibility, you find out if we can use a delivered eligibility which uses the period type hourly. So try to find out that. Then for scheduling, instead of this first period of the month, based on the payment date. Okay, based on the payment date. So what does that mean, right? What is that payment date? Anybody?
It is mentioned in the period schedule, the payment date, period start date, end date, payment date.
Yes, yes, the check date. So you have a period begin date, a specific period begin date, and period end date, and a check date. So check date is nothing but the payment date. The payment date is the date on which the employee receives the payment. Okay. So instead of this first period of the month, try to put the last period of the month and try to run the uh, like create a earning. Okay. Next is the calculation details. Now again, calculation details also. If you go here, again you see that instance value calculation. So if you see here, what is that? compensation element using the PC frequency. PC is nothing but pay component frequency override. So this is one of the elements. If you come down, the calculation is there, and if you see here, compensation pay component amount total for matching pay component in the pay component frequency otherwise pay period frequency. So it's basically you can say that we are just picking up the compensation element value which is coming from the HCM side. So it's the simplest, you can say, element. Do not get confused with lot of elements. You'll open it. If you see here, you can have a lot of elements. Let's say. Okay. So if you search here, you can have many elements here. So some would be delivered once, some say 401k USA. You'll find a lot of. So actually speaking, this list also has to be restricted. It's a JMS tenant, so it's a full access. But if you think about it, right, there are some elements here which will not make any sense. Okay, so it's there in the list 1299. But for our purpose, what we need, simply think about this logic. When you process a car allowance for a person, what do you need? You just need the amount, right? So, and for example, when you want to pay some employee based on shift, right? So you just, what do you need? You need just hours into the rate for the shift. So you just focus on your own calculation element and try to see in the report what exactly is the logic there. Okay, so let us. Okay, so compensation element. So this all, if you see the compensation element, that's the core thing. This is something we are just, that's a linkage for our, between the payroll and HR. So that's the reason we are selecting that. Okay. And this again, we'll just talk about during the instance value and the value comparison when we do that. Next section is calculation proration, right? So what is the concept of proration? Anybody?
It's basically how you are going to prorate it, if at all you need to, like as I was mentioning before, like when an employee joins after the payment date or something like that, and then how you prorate it, basically depending upon the number of days he worked, and then how you pay him back. If you have worked less number of days in that pay schedule, then you prorate that amount and then pay him. That is basically the proration.
Right. So if let's say we are processing the payroll from 1st of December to 15th of December, and someone has joined on 7th of December, then his pay will be prorated. Or it could be another case whereby an employee is already there in the system, but a particular earning he is eligible from 7th of December. So we have to give that earning only from 7 December to 15 December to that employee. So that's a pay component proration. So that also is a case where the proration happens. So if you see here, we are having the options: prorate using the day worked, prorate using the calendar days. So days worked is like in a week you have 5 days, days worked. Calendar days means like all 7 days. So the proration value will differ based on that. Then you have the event causing pay calculation proration. So what are the events which can cause the pay component proration? So one is, of course, the compensation changes the event which you have to select here. Then If you scroll down below, then you have retro. Retro right now, I'm not selecting the retro for this one. Retro is the previous pay period calculation. So let's say a payroll has already got completed. And I think I showed you also retro in one of the classes in the beginning. So what you do is you there is a payroll for last month for the month of November. It's already closed, and now we have to process one of the earnings for an employee for pay period of November 1st to November 15th. So how do we do that? So that will form a part of retro. So we have to select here. Do not recalculate during retro or calculate during retro. So why we do it here? I mean, I'll tell you. Not all the elements are retro enabled, because otherwise what will happen is system takes too much of time to process. Every time you process retro, let's say I want to process retro for 10 people, 10 employees uh, for the month of November. And if I select this flag for all the earnings for all these 10 employees, what will happen is there will be system overhead. So the processing time will increase. You have to process and resolve too many pay components. So during the setup, what we do is we only select those earnings which are like which can be paid in the as a part of the retro that you selected here. Okay. Then you have the FLSA. FLSA is more for the US part. It's uh, we will discuss on that one, but typically what you can understand it is like a protection for the employees to get the minimum pay, minimum wages, Fair Labor Standard Act. What you say, you can read through on the net also. So it's a protection. Then we come to the coverage dates. Coverage date also we can right now exclude for this particular configuration. Uh, Work jurisdictions also right now we can exclude. Calculation work tag. Okay, so calculation work tag right now it's a position, but typically if you talk about a calculation work tag, so I'll show you one more earning also. That's a shift earning. A calculation tag will be something like you, for example, a shift allowance is there, okay, which has to be paid to an employee for a particular pay period. And the pay period is from 1st December to 15th December. And the employee has worked on multiple shifts. Okay, for first 4 days he has worked on shift one, which is like early morning shift, and then next 6 days he has worked on shift two, then remaining days on shift three, and for all these shifts the rate has differed. Okay, and what we do here, what exactly we do, let me just open that shift allowance. Okay, so if you see here, I opened another earning. Okay, we just got a work tag called shift. Okay, now once we enter the payroll inputs for the employee in the every pay cycle via the add inputs, and when we select this particular pay component, we'll have to specify, right, in that this is actually a text field. You can say, you can mention, right, whether the person has worked in the first shift, second shift, or third shift. So that's a work tag. It's a uh, linkage, or you can say a dynamic field, which is used for feeding the data during the payroll input and processing for the payroll period, for that particular payroll period. So you, because that's a dynamic information. If you talk about a shift, right, the example I took, an employee for a particular pay period, he has worked in the first 4 days for the in the first shift, then the remaining 6 days second shift, and remaining last 5 days in the third shift. Now this information we cannot fix it in the system, because in the next cycle again that will keep on varying. So how does this value? How do we ensure that this value gets tracked and the employee gets paid accordingly? We need to use the calculation work tag here, whereby for every pay period we'll have to do the inputs for the shift, that how many like how that for what all number of days he has been in the shift one, and then in shift two, and then in shift three. I'll show that. I'll show that in the system also. So coming back to our previous one. Okay. So if you notice, for the car allowance one, we are not using. We are using the delivered one is position work tag, and the compensation element we have just selected as car allowance. Okay, rest of the fields we are not doing anything. Limit, okay, limit is also one important field. The concept here is you put a earning limit for a particular pay period. I think there is some earning error here. Okay, so let me just open that once again. So if we come down, so here you can specify the earning goal limit. The concept here is like for let's say a particular earning, right? You want to only pay a particular goal amount. Okay, you can set it up here that okay, we can have a limit on the earnings to be paid per employee, and this is something you can set it up here. Okay, and then we'll go to the next tab. So these were the effective dated ones. Now there are some non-effective dated ones, which also you need to populate. Okay, so if you see here, there are now groups in which you'll have to add this. Let me just see if I, yeah. So we have USA like that. You can also add more. Okay, if you search for maybe CPP, something like Canadian Pension Plan. Okay, so what exactly is this? I mean, if you think about typical scenario, okay.
So Vaibhav, when you say groups, are these the pay groups?
No, no, not pay groups. It's a yeah. I'm coming to that. It's basically the component groups. So we'll
Okay.
just yeah, we'll just open that. Pay component groups. As I mentioned, right? So these earnings, every earning you create is nothing but a pay component, and all pay components will get will be assigned to one group. Okay, and if you see here, there's a pay component group. So pay component group, you have to create different kind of pay component groups in the system. Delivered ones are there for Canada, US, France, and UK. And you can, for example, add to gross. Of course, when you create an earning, right, you have to add to the gross. And that's used for processing. So you have to club every earning like that. You can add to a gross. Then the remaining also are important groups like federal taxable or federal insurance contribution act. So typically what happens is like uh, these groups help determine you can say uh, this earnings or deductions. They are subject to certain taxations, right? So you have to align them to those taxes. For example, what we are saying here is this earning will be considered as a part of federal taxable uh, component. Federal taxable, when the final amount of the taxable amount is there, this particular earning will consider it will be part of that group. That means it will be calculated while doing the federal taxes, right? Then CPP, that's a Canadian pension fund. I'm giving an example. It will not be together. For example, for a US, it will be federal taxable, but for Canada, it will be CPP, Canadian pension plan. So what we're saying here is, while calculating the Canadian pension for the employer, okay, this earning also will be considered in the calculation. So we'll come to that when we do the taxation part, because everything is interlinked, right? Right. So we cannot just directly jump to that part. But I think once we, as you progress slowly, you will get a good picture of everything, and you'll be able to relate everything. So right now, I cannot jump on these items, but certainly during the taxation part, we'll understand, and we'll talk in details on what exactly how the earnings are impacting and why we have to put in this component group. So, but right now you can assume that this has to be put in the component group under different component groups, where eventually it will be processed for various purposes, including taxes and insurance and pensions. Okay, so that is there. For example, this ROE is there, right? ROE is a record of employment. So if I, let's say, select this EI taxable, I'm just giving it, showing you an example. So if I select this EI taxable Canada, I added this in a group. Okay, now I have not added this ROE, record of employment. Okay, so let us see what happens. System gave me errors. Okay, see the error now. Do read through the error. Earning is EI taxable. So I made the earning a part of the EI taxable group, but does not have a ROE reporting period allocation method assigned for the amount. So I haven't filled this ROE period, but I am adding that as a EI taxable. So that is not allowed. Either I have to add the ROE down below, okay, or I have to remove that. So yeah, so we'll talk about this ROE also in detail when we reach to that point. That will be covered under part of taxes. So once you uh, go through the taxes, you will come to know what exactly is the significance of this field. Right now, what I want you to do, you have to create some earnings. Go ahead and create some car allowance, mobile allowance, explore these various calculations, right? That's something you have to do in the system. So that is what my expectation right now is at this stage. And try to populate the field, see what is the field significance of that field. Okay. Okay, so second one, so this was for the earning allowance, sorry, car allowance. Then second, we also have something called shift allowance. It differs, right, a bit as compared to the earning. In the earning, if you see here, we had selected these many values. Okay. Okay, just to talk about the benefits also. Benefits, why we have benefits? Because benefits can be a deduction, right? Why it is a benefits here? Okay, so sometimes it is like the employer will pay you the money for purchasing the benefits. Now, in that case, you'll have the benefit plan coverage group. You can set it up here. So we'll talk on that as well. But coming to the second one, earning. So this is a different earning. This different kind of earning. In the previous earning, if you saw, we had only straightforward. We have picked up the amount and all, but it is this earning is more of the rate into the number of hours. It is shift-based earning, hourly pay by shift. Comments also, it will tell you what exactly is this earning doing. Effective date, this all we have already covered. Now, okay, worker eligibility, right? If you see here now, it has got a different kind of a worker eligibility. So first is it should be in our compensation plan. So we should have some hourly compensation plan created on the HCM side. Okay. This is instance set comparison value. Compensation plans as of the sub period end date. Target instance hourly. So if you see here, it is giving a condition here. It is comparing. So it's, I would suggest that you can just go to this particular instance set comparison and try to explore what is the condition it is trying to implement. Then you have the payroll input exists for the pay component. This already we saw. Processing primary job. So just to give an idea, right? Every employee will have, most of the employees will have primary job in the HCM system. So what job you're doing is a primary job. And in case, let's say there are multiple jobs or concurrent jobs, only one job will be primary job and rest of jobs will be secondary job. So that's the way the Workday HCM system also works. You create, you have the primary job, and we have to select like one job will be primary and rest of the jobs will be secondary, and you'll be processing the primary job here. So that's a condition again they have put. Okay, if all these three conditions are not met, then if the value comes for this earning for the employee through the payroll input, then straight away process. So that is a condition we are putting. Then if you see the scheduling part, we are not putting any scheduling part here. We are not put any value in the scheduling part. So you can eliminate that. Then okay. Next one is the hours unprorated into the rate. So this is an arithmetic calculation. Number of hours into the rate. And it's also called the pay component related combination calculation. So if we come down below, it shows in the related calculation. So this earning, what we are saying here is, this earning is having more number of calculations. Within the earning also, we are doing calculation between two elements. So that is something we have to consider here. So we have the hours unprorated. These groups are there. Okay. Basically, again, the number of hours also need to be put in certain groups. So that's the reason you have the groups here. And these are used for certain calculations on certain statutory reasons. These are used. And then you have, if you see the rate is coming from where, compensation element value, PC override. This is a override of the calculation. So you basically you set it up like this. Once you select this, it will be automatically populated. If you select the hours into rate, the pay component related calculation, this will be there populated, and it will have the delivered values, and you can have the hours into rate, set it up here. Okay. And shift part, right? The calculation work tag, the shift part I already cleared, right? So I'll show you that also. Like for example, you have so if you see here, there is a payroll work tag. Okay. If I see shift, so I can give like this: shift 1, shift 2, shift 3. So I can give the dates. So first 4 days we can have the shift to be processed for as per the shift 1. Then second one is shift 2 and shift 3. And based on these conditions, the calculations will change. The rate will change basically. If somebody is coming at night shift, then definitely the rate will change. So here is something you set the calculation work tag. So calculation, this is one of the examples for the calculation work tag. But yes, there are many other in the deductions also you have the calculation work tags which you use, especially when you link the deduction to the earnings part. So you use that. Okay. So coming back to the same page. So you set up the calculation work tag, then limits. Then again you add to the gross groups, pay component groups. We are adding this to the FLSA wages, because all this what will happen is, for example, this FICA taxable, right? Once the FICA taxable component is determined, okay, the component is determined based on the earnings. Like if you have 5 earnings which are to be subject to the FICA taxable, okay, if they are subject to FICA taxable, they have to have this group here, and those 5 earnings for per employee, it will be added, and based on which the FICA taxation will be happening. So if we remove one earning, that earning will not be, if earning is not having that FICA taxable component group, that will not be included in the FICA taxation. So like that. Okay, so this is there. Then, excuse me. So guys, try to create some certain earnings and all in the system, and then we'll discuss, and we can go further also. You have right now, can we continue, or
No, actually this is overloaded. I don't
okay,
know
okay.
how much I
No, no,
got it.
no, no, I understand, right? What about other guys? Because that's the reason I want to go slow. It is not that we can talk about the balances also, period balances, or we can talk about the pay accumulators, but it should not be overloaded. That's the point. We can have more sessions also, but it's you should get some time to practice as well. That's very important. Otherwise, it will not work. Little bit you have to have an idea, like doing some exercises.
Yeah, Vaibhav, I agree. I think we are good here, at least from my standpoint, because some of the things I was not able to get, like the group pay component group, I'm still not clear. And then
Yeah, you will come to
still
know.
not clear how. Yeah, maybe because you said that it's interrelated topics, so I understand that maybe in other sessions we'll cover it, then maybe we understand better.
Yeah,
So yeah, maybe if we add some more earnings and then do a couple of eligibility rules, then maybe we will be good.
right, right.
That's
And
what I think.
right. So first thing is to get the confidence in the system, you create some earnings, and maybe you copy from the existing worker eligibility. That's not a problem, because
Okay.
these activities are like the core activities for a functional implementer.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody who is like, yeah, who is like doing implementation, Workday payroll implementation, and who is like, you can say uh, a functional SME or a consultant, he will have to definitely do these activities. But if you are a person from the business doing the payroll processing, you may not be required to do this, but definitely it gives you some understanding, some business sense. If you read through those worker eligibility, the important part is that if you read through those worker eligibility rules through the reports, it will make some sense for you that, okay, what is the significance? Because you will understand payroll more when you use those worker eligibility rules, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because giving a
And
definition, yeah, go ahead, please.
yeah, and so sorry, not to interrupt. You can go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So how about the other guys? I mean, I'm not hearing much from you guys. How is it? Easy, tough? How is it for you guys? Asha?
Yeah, it's me, Asha. I just spoke.
Oh, sorry, sorry. Sharmila?
No problem.
Yeah, we are good today, Vaibhav. We can continue tomorrow.
Okay. What about Ashish?
Yes, sir. I will practice it today. So it is.
Okay. You practice it, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Ashok joined, right? Ashok? I
Yeah,
think,
it's yeah. I
yeah,
think we will practice. I think what you've
yeah,
given.
you joined a bit late, I guess, right? Right.
Okay.
Okay. So you are able to follow the activities and what we did here?
Yeah, I'm able to follow.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. So yeah, and so just practice it a bit. make some more earnings in the system. And regarding the payroll automated assignment, right? I'll just show you. I think I spoke about it also, and I'll just. So this will not be overload, guys. I'm not taking a new topic. I'll just touch base on what we did. So we have this payroll assignment group. If you see, I've just made a very simple one. We can add more. We can add the parent type also, hourly and all that. I just want to show you the task, what exactly is the task. So this is only when the worker's primary address is Canada. Okay. Assign this particular pay group. We can add more also. So let us go to pay group. Okay, so let me just do one thing. I'll just copy this. Let's open it on separate. And you created the pay group assignment also?
I was trying to make up one.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So I'll just show you. So here you can create a group automatic assignment. Okay. So use this task and create one pay group automatic assignment rule for your own pay group. Okay. So try doing that. And then another thing is we will just test the assignment. So once we create the test pay group automatic assignment, we test the pay group automatic assignment. So here we go. And let's say VK cancel. Okay. So here we can test this particular pay group assignment, whether it's working on the employees or not. So you can do startup change. Worker maybe. Okay, so any employee, let's say. Okay, so let us see what we can do here. We will try to okay, move the worker to a different location. Oh, this is GMS tenant error. Okay, we'll have to try again. One second. Okay, so we selected one of the employees. We're just testing it out, whether the rule is working fine or not. Okay, so this is okay, and I'll just click on. Now this is a GMS error. This one is a GMS error. Let me close the window. Let's take some other employee. Okay. Okay. So let's take this guy. Okay, so importantly, if you see the rule got executed for this employee, okay, and the rule has run successfully. The rule result, if you see the rule result here, it says no. No means this employee doesn't satisfy the rule. Okay, if there is an employee which satisfies the rule, then it will be yes. So let us see if we have any employee, Canada employee. Let me just see. Okay, so location is Montreal. Okay, Jim Helton. Okay. So let's test automatic. So this employee which I picked up is from Canada. Let us see how our rule works. Oh, it's not in the search. Okay, so basically we need an employee and it has to come. Okay, it could be the security part, right? Where we have to just check. Let me just go to supervisory organization. We'll try to pick up any of the employees if we have. Okay. Right. So there is some security issue here. So what I want to say is like you can use this test automatic assignment, pay group assignment. Okay. Here you have to select the worker. I have to just check why this is not coming. So there are some employees which I would like to feed, and I would like to check whether our test is working. If you see here, Montreal on the location part, right? So we have some from Montreal, some from Toronto. So I'm just trying to see if we can get some employee here, because some employee we got, right, and some we haven't got. Come on. Okay. So basically, this from this supervisory organization, I'm not getting any. Let me just see Connor Allington. Yeah. So from this supervisory organization, the employee is not showing up. So it could be it is a security issue. But what I would say is that you can try for your particular, if you have a different supervisory organization, for which you can just select the employee and try to test this particular rule. And the rule result, as I showed you before, it should show the value yes. That means the rule is working perfectly fine. So that testing you should do. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I think that is it from my end.